At 3 in the morning, Amelia Hawthorne stood in the hospital corridor with her newborn daughter pressed against her chest, watching the television screen that no one else seemed to notice. The evening news had returned to normal. A reporter was still talking about Margaret Cole's arrest, Marcus Vale's escape, and Victor Hawthorne's critical surgery. Somewhere behind two steel doors, Amelia's father was fighting for his life because he had stepped in front of a bullet meant for her. But Amelia had seen the message. "Stop digging, Amelia." Then the second line, "Your daughter is not the only child we can take." Hope stirred under the blanket, her tiny mouth opening as if she could feel the threat before she understood the words. Amelia held her closer. A week ago, she had been a betrayed wife crawling through snow while her husband partied on a yacht. Now she was the missing heir of a billionaire dynasty, the mother of a child someone wanted for blood rights, and the daughter of a woman the world had buried without ever finding a body. The elevator opened at the end of the hall. A woman in a dark gray coat stepped out. She was tall, athletic, and unfamiliar to every guard there. Her hair was pulled back tightly. Her eyes scanned exits before faces. The woman lifted both palms slowly. "Rachel Stone. Victor Hawthorne hired me 3 months ago." Amelia frowned. "I have never seen you." Rachel looked at her. That was the point. She removed a sealed envelope from inside her coat. Victor's signature crossed the flap in blue ink. Amelia opened it with one hand. Inside was a single page. "If Marcus is exposed, trust Rachel. She protects what I failed to protect." Amelia read the line twice. Rachel said quietly, "Your father suspected Marcus, but he did not have proof. He assigned me outside the official security chain. Why are you here now?" Rachel's expression tightened. "Because someone just sent this to my secure phone." She held up the screen. It showed an old blue leather diary buried beneath the white wooden horse inside the ruined Westbrook greenhouse. Below it, a message read, "Your mother wrote the truth before they buried her name." Amelia's blood turned cold. Rachel lowered her voice. "The sender knew about the horse, they knew about the diary, and they knew we would come." "Then it is a trap," Amelia said. "Yes." Amelia looked toward the operating room doors. "And if we wait?" Rachel glanced at Hope. "Then whoever sent that message has more time to move it." Amelia closed her eyes for 1 second. That was all she allowed herself. Fear could visit, but it could not unpack bags in her chest. "Get me out of here," she said. Rachel nodded. "No sirens, no convoy. If we move like billionaires, they will see us coming." Amelia looked at her daughter. "Then we move like mothers." By dawn, the city was pale beneath a fresh sheet of snow. Rachel drove an unmarked black SUV through service roads and alleys, while Amelia sat in the back with Hope. "Are we being followed?" Amelia asked. "Not yet. That is not comforting." It was not meant to be. Westbrook appeared beyond a row of dead trees, a black skeleton against the winter sky. 22 years earlier, Amelia had vanished there as a toddler. Her mother, Evelyn Hawthorne, had been declared dead. Her father had buried grief under power. And somewhere inside that ruin, the truth had waited like a loaded gun. The old greenhouse stood behind the mansion, half collapsed, its glass roof cracked open to the clouds. Snow drifted through the broken panels. Dead vines curled around the iron frame like fingers. Rachel stepped in first, gun drawn. Amelia followed with Hope wrapped against her chest. The white wooden horse waited in the far corner. One blue eye stared from its chipped face. Amelia's breath caught. She had dreamed of that horse since childhood without knowing why. In those dreams, there was smoke, a woman singing, and hands pulling her away from warmth. Rachel lifted the horse carefully. "Nothing." Amelia knelt beside it. The message said beneath it, "There is no diary." Amelia touched the horse's carved belly. Beneath the dust, a small mark caught her eye. Ha. Below the initials were 5 tiny words. "Where beautiful things were allowed to die." Amelia whispered, "Dad said that." Rachel looked up. "What?" "Before the paramedics took him, he said my mother kept the diary where beautiful things were allowed to die." Amelia turned toward the far wall. Under a shattered window stood a row of dead rose bushes, black stems frozen into the soil. She handed Hope to Rachel and began digging with her bare hands. "Amelia, stop. The ground is frozen." "Then help me break it." Rachel hesitated, then used the heel of her boot to crack the icy soil. Together, they pulled away snow, dirt, and broken glass until Amelia's fingers struck metal. A rusted box lay beneath the roots. Inside was a blue leather diary, a cassette tape, and a silver bracelet small enough for a child. Amelia picked up the bracelet. On the inside, engraved in tiny script, was one word: Amelia. Her knees almost gave out. Rachel reached for her arm. "We need to go." Amelia opened the diary anyway. The first page read, "If my daughter ever reads this, then they failed to erase her." For a moment, the greenhouse vanished. Amelia was no longer a billionaire's daughter, a mother, or a target. She was simply a child hearing her mother speak from inside a grave that had lied. Rachel checked the windows. "Amelia." Amelia shut the diary. "Now we go." They drove to a safe house outside the city, a plain brick home registered under a company with no visible link to Hawthorne. Rachel swept the rooms twice before allowing Amelia inside. Hope slept in a portable crib near the fireplace. Amelia sat at the kitchen table and opened the diary. Evelyn's handwriting was elegant at first, then shakier near the later pages. She wrote about offshore accounts, stolen companies, judges paid through charities, families forced into bankruptcy so their assets could be bought cheaply through shell corporations. She wrote that Victor knew there was corruption around the edges of his empire, but not the full machine eating through it. Then Evelyn wrote a name: Helena Vos. Amelia paused. The woman behind the veil, the voice in Marcus's car, the shadow at the edge of every crime. According to Evelyn, Helena had been a trusted legal advisor to old money families across the country. She specialized in trusts, heirs, medical guardianships, and private settlements. She knew how to make a living person vanish inside paperwork. One line made Amelia's stomach twist. "Helena does not steal fortunes. She steals the people who control them." Rachel leaned over the page. "That explains Hope." Amelia turned another page. "The Hawthorne Blood Trust cannot be opened without Evelyn, Amelia, and Amelia's firstborn child. If they cannot control the mother, they will control the baby." Hope whimpered in the crib. Amelia stood immediately, but Rachel stopped her with one hand. "Wait." A floorboard creaked outside. Rachel killed the lights. The safe house sank into darkness. Someone was on the porch. Rachel moved silently to the front window. Amelia lifted Hope from the crib and stepped behind the kitchen wall. A folded paper slid under the door. No footsteps followed. Rachel waited 20 seconds before picking it up. It was a visitor badge from St. Mercy Retreat, a private medical facility outside Chicago. On the back, someone had written, "Room 217. She remembers the lullaby." Amelia's lips parted. "My mother." Rachel shook her head. "Or bait. Both can be true." Before Rachel could answer, Amelia saw a cassette player on the shelf. Old, dusty, but intact. Her hands moved before her fear could stop them. She placed Evelyn's tape inside and pressed play. Static filled the room. Then came a woman's voice. Soft, weak, alive. "My darling Amelia, if you are hearing this, then I need you to know one thing before anything else. I did not leave you." Amelia sat down hard. The voice continued. "The night of the fire, I knew they were coming. I tried to take you through the greenhouse tunnel, but Clarabelle betrayed us. I was drugged. When I woke, I was in a private medical room. They told the world I died. They told me my baby burned. Helena said grief would keep Victor blind, and guilt would keep him obedient." Amelia covered her mouth, but no sound came out. Evelyn's voice trembled. "If Victor is alive, do not hate him too soon. He was blind, but he was not the one who sold you." The tape clicked, then continued. "If I survived, they will keep me where Mercy has a locked door." Rachel whispered, "Saint Mercy." Amelia looked at Hope. Her daughter's eyes were open. "I am going," Amelia said. Rachel did not argue. "Then we do it before they move her." St. Mercy Retreat looked nothing like a prison. Wealth made cruelty polite. It put flowers beside locked doors and called captivity care. Rachel entered through a service wing, using credentials from Victor's emergency file. Amelia wore a nurse's coat and carried Hope under a blanket inside a medical sling. They passed quiet hallways, expensive paintings, and patients who stared at windows as if waiting for lives that never returned. Room 217 was at the end of a lower corridor. No nameplate, just a code. E.H. Cognitive decline. No visitors. Amelia's hand shook on the handle. Rachel whispered, "Once we open this, there is no quiet way back." Amelia pushed the door. A woman sat beside the window in a wheelchair, silver hair falling over thin shoulders. Her face was older than the portrait inside the locket, worn by years of stolen sunlight, but her eyes were the same. Amelia knew before anyone spoke. "Mom?" The woman turned slowly. Her lips parted. She stared at Amelia as if afraid recognition would disappear if she breathed too quickly. "They told me my baby burned," Evelyn whispered. Amelia crossed the room and fell to her knees. "I am here." Evelyn touched her face with trembling fingers. "Amelia?" "Yes." The sound Evelyn made was not a cry. It was the breaking of a chain that had been wrapped around her soul for 22 years. Amelia placed Hope gently in her arms. "This is your granddaughter," she said. "Her name is Hope." Evelyn looked down at the baby. Tears slid silently over her cheeks. "She has your eyes. No empire mattered. No money mattered. No blood trust mattered." 3 generations of Hawthorne women sat together in a room built to keep them apart, and the lie that had ruled their lives began to die. Then the door locked behind them. The television mounted in the corner turned on by itself. Helena Voss appeared on the screen. She wore black pearls and a smile carved from ice. "Touching," Helena said. "I allowed this reunion because desperate women sign faster after they have something to lose." Rachel raised her gun toward the camera. The screen changed to a live feed of the corridor. Armed men were moving toward room 217. Helena continued. "Amelia, your father is dying. Your husband is ruined. Your mother is legally incompetent. And your baby is the last key to a trust your grandmother created before any of us were born. You will sign control to me, or St. Mercy becomes a tomb." Amelia stood. "You kept my mother alive for 22 years to steal money?" Helena laughed. "Money is vulgar. Control is art." Evelyn's weak voice cut through the room. "You always did mistake cruelty for intelligence." Helena's smile thinned. Evelyn looked at Amelia. "The locket." Amelia removed the sapphire locket from her neck. Helena leaned closer to the camera. "Give it to Marcus." A hidden side door opened. Marcus Vale stepped inside, gun in hand, face bruised from his escape. Rachel aimed at him. Marcus aimed at Hope. Nobody moved. Marcus said, "The locket, Amelia." Amelia looked at Evelyn. Her mother nodded once. Amelia placed the locket on the table and opened it. The sapphire lifted with a faint click, revealing the microfilm. But beneath the portrait was another layer, thinner than paper. A blinking red dot appeared. Rachel smiled despite herself. Helena's face changed. Amelia looked into the camera. "You spent 22 years hunting for this, and you never asked why my mother wanted you to find it." Evelyn straightened in her wheelchair. "My diary was bait," she said. "The microfilm was bait. The locket was bait. I knew one day Helena would come close enough to confess." Helena's voice sharpened. "What did you do?" Rachel answered. "Broadcasting live to federal agents, Hawthorne Legal Counsel, 3 newsrooms, and the emergency board session Victor called before surgery." Marcus's gun wavered. On the screen behind Helena, a door burst open. Federal agents flooded her office. For the first time, Helena Voss looked human. Afraid, Marcus grabbed Hope's blanket, but Amelia moved first. She swept the table into his knees. Rachel fired. The shot struck Marcus in the shoulder, spinning him into the wall. His gun clattered across the floor. Evelyn, frail as she was, rolled her chair forward and kicked the gun under the bed. Marcus lunged, but Rachel tackled him. The corridor exploded with shouts. The door burst open. Helena's image froze on the screen as she was pulled from her chair in handcuffs. Marcus lay face down, bleeding, cursing, smaller than the shadow he had lived inside. Amelia lifted Hope from Evelyn's lap and held her close. "It is over." Evelyn looked at the room, the agents, the broken door, the camera still recording. "No," she said softly. "Now it becomes truth." 3 days later, Evelyn Hawthorne walked out of St. Mercy Retreat for the first time in 22 years. She did not walk quickly. Her legs shook. Amelia held one arm, Rachel the other. Hope slept against Amelia's chest, unaware that the world had rearranged itself around her tiny heartbeat. Outside the gates, reporters shouted questions. Evelyn did not answer them. She turned her face toward the sun and closed her eyes. "I forgot how warm it was," she whispered. Amelia could not speak. Victor stood beside a black car, his shoulder bound, his face pale from surgery. He looked at Evelyn as if he were seeing both a miracle and a judgment. "I am sorry," he said. Evelyn studied him for a long time. "You do not get forgiveness today, Victor." He bowed his head. "I know, but you can earn your way back by protecting them without controlling them." Victor looked at Amelia, then at Hope. I will. 1 month later, the Hawthorne hearings began. Evelyn testified before Congress, federal prosecutors, and the board that had once profited from her silence. Helena Voss was charged with kidnapping, unlawful confinement, medical fraud, trust manipulation, and conspiracy. Marcus Vale was charged with attempted murder and treason against the family he had pretended to serve. Margaret Cole faced kidnapping charges for Hope and conspiracy charges for Amelia's childhood abduction. Derek Cole accepted a plea agreement. When Amelia saw him outside the courtroom, he looked older, stripped of arrogance and costume. I am sorry, he said. Amelia looked at him without hatred. Hatred would have kept a room for him inside her life, and he no longer deserved space there. I know, she said. But sorry does not raise a child. Character does. Derek lowered his eyes. That was the last time she ever spoke to him. Spring came slowly to Westbrook. The snow melted from the ruins. Workers rebuilt the greenhouse, not as a monument to pain, but as proof that beautiful things could grow where evil had once hidden. At the center, Amelia placed the white wooden horse with one blue eye. Beneath it, a small bronze plaque read, "For every child taken, silenced, or forgotten, may the truth find its way home." Evelyn sat beside the new rose beds with Hope in her arms. Victor stood a few steps away, giving space where once he would have given orders. Amelia watched them and touched the sapphire locket at her throat. For years, that locket had been a mystery. Then it became a weapon. Now it was only a reminder. Blood did not make a family. Money did not make a family. A famous name did not make a family. Family was the person who stayed when lies became easier. Evelyn looked up. Did you ever stop believing you deserved to be loved? Amelia looked at Hope, then back at her mother. Almost. Evelyn took her hand. Then let that be the last thing they stole from you. That evening, Amelia returned to Hawthorne Estate. No black envelopes waited at the gate. No monitors flickered. No footsteps hid in the dark. In the nursery, Hope slept beneath a mobile of silver stars. Amelia sat beside the crib, the same way she had on the night Margaret escaped. But this time, fear did not sit beside her. Evelyn stood in the doorway. Victor stood behind her, quiet and humbled. 3 generations watched the child sleep. Amelia whispered, "No one will ever use our bloodline to hurt us again." Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder. "No," she said. "Now they will remember what happens when they try." Outside, the last snow melted from the windowsill. For the first time in 22 years, Hawthorne Estate did not feel like a castle built over secrets. It felt like a home,